Okay, thank you. First Nordic Metals, thanks for the introduction. Yes, we're today a $150 million company. We are the merger of two companies, Goldline Resources and Barcelli Minerals, back in about 12 months ago. So we are excited to showcase here, and we'll jump right into it. I will be sharing some cautionary statements, so please be aware of that. First Nordic Metals, we call this the Nordic advantage. Jurisdiction is everything in today's world with what we're seeing in different parts of mining communities. And we're very excited to work in a country or in countries with very long history of mining going back thousands of years, very secure tenure, incredible taxation rates, very low political risk, and a very mature, well-defined environmental and permitting procedures. The reason we chose the Scandinavian markets is these are probably the final frontiers when they come to new discovery opportunities. Sweden and Finland only opened up to modern exploration in sort of the mid-90s. So you've got a very underexplored greenstone belt compared to the other greenstone belts in the world. So just a tremendous place for us to be building what is now the largest undeveloped gold deposit in Sweden and the second largest undeveloped gold deposit in Europe. If you move to the northern Sweden, where we have the majority of our projects, you see two main belts. You see the Skellefteå VMS belt, which is typically Boliden, Mandalay resources, a lot of base metal operations, maybe 30 to 40 past producing or active mines. And that coincides and moves into this north-south belt called the Goldline belt. And as you can see, there are three projects here, the Storjukten, the Barcelli, and the Påbacken projects. And this covers over 100 kilometers of strike in 104,000 hectares of mineral concessions, with the middle part, the Barcelli, being a 2.4 million ounce gold deposit discovered in 2014 and joint ventured with Agnico Eagle. So very unique to have such a large land package. And part of the reason why we first went into the Nordics is because, when you're early, you can go grab these large district opportunities. And essentially that's what we're building today with our First Nordic Metals. 100 square kilometers, 100 kilometers of first order strike, and significant targets across the belt that are all, second, third, or fourth potential deposits on the belt. If you want to compare this to the Abitibi in Quebec, you could see this is the 100 kilometer, land package we have. And if you'd have that land package here in Ontario or Quebec, that would cover off probably 100 million ounces of production and 12 to 15 established projects that are all feeding a central processing facility. This is our vision. This is our grand vision and what we've put together over many years of consolidation and work. And so today we have 100% of this greenstone belt controlled by one company, where you'd probably have that in maybe 15 or 20 companies fighting over this in the Abitibi. If you look at our share structure, we recently completed a bought deal financing in end of November 2024. This was done with Haywood Securities and Ventum Securities. Today, our market cap is about $145 million Canadian, and with $12 million in the bank. You see the distribution of our shareholders. We have 40% of our shareholders are institutional. 35% would be Bob Gibson, Ingalls and Snyder out of New York, who've been longtime shareholders. The recent financing added to that ledger with some new institutions out of the US. Insiders are about 18%. Retail is about 31%, and we have Agnico Eagle here with 11% equity. Since we took over through the merged entity of Goldline and Barcelli in February 2024, you can see we've had pretty significant share appreciation, and really just getting the story back into the front and center, into the limelight. We've traded through 100 million shares. The stock has been incredibly active and liquid. We've got a new shareholder base, the new shareholder base supporting the story. And I think this sets us up very well for 2025 to sort of go beyond our current plans, make some new discoveries, continue to add to our treasury, and hopefully consolidate the balance of the Barcelay project here.
Perfect, Adam. And just to let you know, Taj has just joined as a panelist, so he's right there with you.
Hey, Taj, just in
time.
Guys.
Yeah, perfect time. Thanks, and sorry guys about the technical difficulties. So glad to join you here. I'll do a few slides here on the Barcelay project. Adam's already introduced us and led us to this point. So This is a plan map of the Barnsley project, which is located on the Gold Line Belt. This is a joint venture, 55% Agnico, 45% us. We are fully carried, as we have been since Agnico came into the joint venture in 2015. A very large land package, about 25,000 hectares. So in addition to this resource area shown in the red here with 3 big zones and the big deposit that Barnsley is, there's 15, 20 actual real targets in addition on this claim package that I'm not going to talk about here, but as this becomes a mine and regional exploration becomes more significant, there's a lot more here to work on, but I will again focus on the resource area. About $55 million has been spent to date by Agnico since they came in, and it's about close to 450, 475 probably holes and close to 175,000 meters. So lots of data here, very well studied deposit, and again drilled by one of the best gold companies in the world. So you know that the data and the quality of the data is very strong. Adam had pointed out this project, the way the current structure is if Agnico puts out a pre-feasibility study, we would then they would become 70% owners and we'd become 30% owners and we'd become pro rata. We'd have to start paying costs. That likely is not what's going to happen here. We are in advanced discussions with Agnico to advance the project forward, likely with us as becoming the operators. What the structure of that looks like, that's to be determined, but I think it's kind of clear, very clear, that this is a project that will become a mine and needs to be advanced for sure. So, there will be some things happening on this structure that will advance through the year. So moving on to the next slide. High level, guys, this is a long section of the deposit. It's a very wide deposit, 3.5 kilometers, composed of 3 kind of zones. All of them have a starter open pit component to them for early cash flow, but the majority of the economics in the deposit is an underground deposit, which is actually very helpful for permitting. The average resource depth here is 550 meters. We have actually hit to 925, very strong mineralization, very strong grades. It's shown here that our deepest intercepts as well as our best intercepts, some of them are shown here. So we have a very strong belief, guys, that this will continue well beyond 1 kilometer in depth, likely maybe even towards 1,500 or 2,000 meters, which is very typical for greenstone belt deposits of this kind of age, and what we see very typically in the Abitibi will show that. So this kind of 2.5 million ounces, we believe, has very strong potential to be able to move towards 4.5 to 5, pretty straightforward, and hopefully even beyond that. And this will be a mine that can continue for decades. Just a quick, these are cross sections of 2 parts of the deposit, just 2 typical kind of cross sections. The big thing about the Barnsley project, which really makes it very economic, is how wide the deposit is for an underground deposit. You typically see underground deposits 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meters, 5 meters. You're talking about zones here, underground zones that are 100 to 200 meters wide, some cases wider than even 200 meters. So your stopes can be much, much wider here. You're talking about 40-meter stopes, 20-meter stopes. This all helps for your unit cost to keep your mining costs very low, and that's what will really make the economics of the Barnsley project very strong. And a couple of other characteristics, guys. I'm not going to go through the details here. The resource is shown here. Again, underground is the majority of this deposit. It's about a 2.5 to 3 gram per ton underground. Open pit is about 1.4. Each of the zones, again, has a starter pit. Here's a list of kind of mines and operations that the deposit is very similar to, and you see with our grades of around 3 gram per ton, we fare very well versus very similar kinds of operations, and a list of them is shown there. I won't go into detail, but we strongly believe that the favorable geometry and dimensions of this deposit are really going to set it apart. Metallurgy has not been even optimized, and we're talking about mid-90s recovery. So again, that could probably be improved. So very nice, simple, clean metallurgy. And again, there's lots of room for growth regionally and at depth, as I've talked about, and along strike. Next slide. So very quickly, I'll talk about an actual operating mine in Sweden. I mean, I can talk to you about things and say it's going to be economic, but let's look at an actual mine that's not far from us in the same county as us in northern Sweden, the Björkdale mine. The Björkdale mine has been operating since the 1980s. It is having a very strong year, obviously in part due to a very high gold price. But what's very interesting to see is you see their operating details in that first part on the chart here. You see the grades that you're talking about. You see the kind of cost, the unit costs we're talking about. These costs are 25, 30, maybe even more percent lower than what you see in Canada, which is already a very favorable jurisdiction for costs. I don't think people realize how low the operating costs of Sweden are. It's amazing, Northern Sweden. The low cost power, the highly skilled labor, very efficient mining methods really makes Northern Sweden a top jurisdiction. And you know, I've operated in many regions in the world. It really was shocking and surprising in a very positive way. You then compare that to Barnsley, right? Barnsley is a very similar style of deposit, would be mined in a very similar way to Björkdal. Grades almost double. Recovery 5, 6, 7% higher than what Björkdal is now. Of course, Björkdal has been in its good days, in its early days was much higher grade. But you see even now they're making money, so that bodes extremely well for Barnsley. So that just gives you kind of some context to see what Barnsley could be. And to be honest, if you did some calculations, you'd be able to quickly see we'd have very strong cash costs and all-in sustaining costs at Barnsley. And a very quick slide here to show depth potential. I've talked about greenstone belt deposits. They're very typically known to be deep-seated deposits because the fluids are derived from the mantle. 2 kilometers is pretty typical. 1,500 meters to 2 kilometers. So we think at 600 meters we're really just scratching the surface at Barnsley, and this could extend well beyond a kilometer, which would mean obvious, straightforward resource growth. So I touched on Barnsley, guys. That's one part of the story that underpins our value. Barnsley will be a mine. It will be Sweden's largest mine. It will be one of the largest mines, gold mines in Europe, period. But what really makes this interesting is the fact that we believe, our hypothesis is, there's 2 or 3 more Barsleys that we own 100% on our ground that will add in addition to Barnsley, that could really make the Gold Line Belt become an entire camp with a central processing facility. So I'll let Adam walk you through the various targets.
Yeah, so again, thanks, Taj. So moving on to our 100% owned projects, again, this is really where we see the blue sky potential of the belt. We have this fantastic Barnsley deposit, but we've got 80 kilometers of ground around it to go make multiple discoveries and change the perception of how we build the business out. One meaningful drill hole on any of these projects will completely change Agnico's perspective on what could be done on this belt, and everyone is watching eagerly. This is a discovery we made 3 years ago at the Aida target. It was an initial discovery hole that was never followed up on. We did a very simple, sort of 12 to 1400 meter drill program 3 years ago, and we made a discovery of 22.5 meters of 2.4 grams per ton. That is a discovery hole that is better than the original Barnsley holes. This is a 4.5 kilometer structure. We know this is a structural corridor through geophysics. And again, this is on the southern end of the belt. We have within 4 kilometers of this discovery, we have Dragon Mining and an operating mill at the Svartaliden deposit and mill. So this is a mill where they had an open pit mine that they mined out about, I think, 400,000 ounces of 4 grams per ton, maybe a decade ago. So this is a known mineralized system, and you can literally take a 4 kilometer dirt road access to these drill holes. And so we've demonstrated already previously that this was a mineralized structure of at least 800 meters. When you see these blue dots, these are base of till holes. So these are shallow holes that you're using to penetrate the ground and do your sampling, because you're not having any surface exposure of the bedrock, and you need to get below that. So we do geochemistry and we do geophysics. And then when we understand the structural controls, we do these base of till holes. And when you're getting 0.1, 0.2 ppm, these yellow and blue dots, I mean, this is what Rupert Resources used and what they found to make a discovery at Ikari. And so we've got a very similar, mineral identification system here. And so we've completed a lot of this base of till drilling, and we're now following this up with a current 10,000 meter drill program. We're about 5 holes into this program where we're testing the structure in its entirety. So this is something that we've been waiting many, many years to do. We're finally funded for this and able to move it forward given the capital we raised at the end of last year. And we're going to be doing somewhere between 5 and 10,000 meters here immediately with results pending. So again, today we're getting fully valued on really only the Barceli project. If you add a second discovery and you add a little bit of exploration success, we've got a real chance to build this story out far beyond our current valuation today. If you move further north up the belt, so let's go about 10 kilometers further north. Remember, this whole Pawbacken project is about 40 to 45 kilometers in length. This black line that goes through the middle of all of our projects is the first order structure. In these types of systems, you need to be within 4 or 5 kilometers of this structure on either side to, I think, to have a high probability of success. And you can see here we've got a 5.5 kilometer geochemical anomaly. So just to give you perspective, Barceli is a 3 kilometer anomaly that's turned into a 3 million ounce or 2.5 million ounce plus deposit. The AIDA target is a 4.5 kilometer anomaly. This is a 5.5 kilometer anomaly. Almost identical signature to Barceli, over 6,700 samples taken here over multiple seasons. So you've got a tremendous amount of work that was done to identify this. And we're currently completing 200 base of till holes, hitting the bedrock. As soon as we get those results, that will allow us to target another 5 to 10,000 meters of drilling. So we've already got 10,000 meters of drilling going. This will likely be our second drill target that we'll be following up on. And of course, as data comes out, we're going to make these decisions depending on the success of the data. Now move further north, so now north of Barceli, the Storyukten project, which is another 40 kilometers in length, so massive land package. Right in the middle of it, we identified a third multi-kilometric, over 5 kilometer geochemical anomaly. You can see again, almost identical in layout and density of samples. Almost 5,000 glacial till samples were taken on this over a few seasons. And we've now identified this massive anomaly that has base of till drilling being completed on it. All the magnetics are completed on it. This is a third target, assuming the base of till drilling is what we expect, and we get those 0.1 to 0.2 ppm markers. We will be targeting this with another 5 to 10,000 meters of drilling. So all of these targets are essentially going to be drill ready in 2025. All of these targets are funded through our financing in November, and we're going to have a long season of exploration discovery results from here till the end of calendar 2025 and into 2026. When you look at these anomalies, you think, okay, those are 3 massive targets already after the Barceli project. About a month ago, we identified 4 new multi-kilometric targets on the belt. So this is now extending our targets to close to 8 multi-kilometric targets on a belt. So we're going to have many years of exploration to do this. It's incredibly advantageous to be able to use the same team, leverage Agnico's technical team, apply all of the learning that you do with every dollar that you spend. You're actually understanding the belt substantially better season after season. And so we're going to go into what I think is going to be our 6th season now of work. And this will be by far the most active season that we've ever had. And most importantly, this will probably be the most active exploration program in all of Europe, aside from a couple of companies that may be doing asset expansion through the work that they're doing. So I think, the only thing I'd maybe follow up on here is a little bit about our team. I think the only thing better than our geological prospects are the team that we've put together here. We want to show the market that we are very serious about making new discoveries. We're actively in discussions to acquire and potentially acquire the balance of the Barceli project. Agnico had a deal to sell this project to previous management, but that deal did not consummate through lack of funding in 2021. So we know that there's an opportunity to potentially consolidate the belt further. Taj Singh, our CEO and director, joined a year and a half ago and joined me at Goldline Resources, which quickly led to the merger with Barceli within about 60 days of joining. We had raised our first bit of capital and successfully completed our merger. Taj has a long pedigree of mining and mineral exploration development success. He was founder of Discovery Silver, which is now the world's largest undeveloped silver deposit in Mexico. He took that from a 10 million market cap to over $800 million in market cap. He was also founding director of GT Gold, which sold to Newmont for, I believe, $450+ million a few years ago. So again, a proven developer. He has the ability to go put these projects into production with many projects under his belt with his previous history. I've had success in the mining industry, most recently selling Cayden Resources with a wonderful team I worked with here that's part of my team now. We were successful in Cayden selling to Agnico for $210 million, and we were part of the team that built Keegan Resources, which is now Galiano Gold. Benjamin Gelber is our head of exploration, who I worked with at Cayden and at Keegan, as well as John Aaron, who's our VP Corp Dev. And at the board level, we have Toby Pierce, who brought me in originally to take Goldline public. He was part of the team, along with Henrik Lundin, that assembled this extensive portfolio in Sweden back in 2017. So we've got a long and experienced team here with Toby as our chairman. Henrik Lundin rejoined the board here after our merger, and he's joined about a month ago, which gives us fantastic representation in Sweden with local investors. We are listing our shares on the Swedish exchange in about a month's time, and Henrik joined in anticipation of that to be able to help us further get exposure in that part of the world. We do have Mark Legault on our board, who is a 35-year veteran of Agnico, very close relationship with senior management at Agnico, and I think continuing to help us bridge the relationship and ensure that Agnico is comfortable working with us longer term. Gary Cope, our founder from Barcellay Minerals, is still a very supportive and active director. And Jeff Couch recently joined us from after a 10-year at Bank of Montreal as a head of mining and metals in London. He's also works as a special situations with Orion out of London as well. So a fantastic team that we've put together to execute on our goals of completing further acquisitions and consolidation of the belt. And Taj, I'll hand it over to you for some concluding comments.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. I would say, guys, listen, we're going to be one of the busiest companies you'll see in the junior gold space. I think it's the perfect ingredients are in place for First Nordic. I mean, the sector is looking very hot, as we know, but specific to this story, I mean, what kind of company do you know that owns 100 kilometers of unexplored greenstone belt? You can just think about the potential mineral inventory that could be built up over the next 2-3 years. It's shocking. And it's all underpinned by a deposit that's sitting at 2.5 million ounces that will be a mine that likely grows to 4 or 5 plus. I think Adam had noted that we're only getting, full value for Barclay right now. And I would say, I don't think we're getting even 10% of our value of Barclay. 0.1 times NPV, high level is what I'm thinking. You can do your own numbers. We're not even close to being valued for what Barclay's worth, and all the rest of the 80 kilometers of belt is free. And if you hit on even 1 or 2 of those, it completely changes the entire situation for First Nordic in a very positive way. So I've been through a lot of stories and had a lot of successes. Right place, right time most of the time, and building the right team around it. But I'm extremely excited about what's happening here. And on top of that, when you add the kind of the encouragement we're getting from the Swedish government in terms of moving projects ahead, it is again all the perfect ingredients are in place, I think, for First Nordic. So again, thanks for that. And Adam, maybe anything I missed to close off?
I did see a question here, which is what stands for BOT drilling. So your typical drilling is diamond drilling, where you get core and you analyze that core. Base of till drilling is essentially a smaller drill bit. You're penetrating the surface 10, 15, 20 meters deep, and then you're sampling that rock that you hit. So it's essentially a percussion drill that lets you get down cheaply to the bedrock, test that bedrock and sample it. And if it's mineralized, you go in, you diamond drill right underneath that. That's how we made our discovery originally at Påbacken.
Yeah, I'll add to that, guys. In the Nordics, Northern Canada, Northern Europe, Russia, a very typical common thing is the new layer of information they use prior to diamond drilling is this bot drilling that Adam mentioned, base of till, also often called TOB, top of bedrock. So you hit the till that's near the bedrock, and then you go into the bedrock, as Adam noted. It is found as a very, very efficient way, and correlation between that and diamond drill results are very strong. And actually, in the long term, I believe, reduces your diamond drilling costs because you've now targeted the area you want to hit. Very cheap. We're talking about $1,000 a hole. So you do 100, 200 holes in a given area over, set up a certain grid. You've already honed in on what to drill, and you've gotten lots of good information about the bedrock. And it's a typical method used in the Nordics because there obviously is this overburden of glacial till.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for the explanation. We still have 2 minutes to go. If anyone has another question, please feel free to post it in the Q&A box or the chat box. Just one thing, Taj, I really want and Adam to focus on. 100-kilometer of greenstone belt. This is not only unheard of, I don't even think it ever existed, to be honest. I will have to look back in the archives here. How do you manage to explore 100-kilometer long of green belt? As we all know, the next deposit could be anywhere.
Correct. Yeah, I'll start off. I'd say, as Adam had noted, we're already in our 6th season really of doing this. So clearly it's been slow and steady on purpose, systematically, cost efficiently. But the methods our team employs are tried, tested, and true in the area. You have to do full geophysics over the whole belt. Structure tells you, okay, this is the main regional fault, as Adam notes, the first order structure. We have to work off of that. There's some second order structures. So that's one layer of information. Then boots on the ground, you have to sample. We've done thousands and thousands of samples. God bless students. We love the summer students, the university. We get lots of experience. We use them. That gives us more information now, till sampling. Then you do this base of till drilling, further giving you more information. So maybe you initially start out with 50 targets, then it gets to 20 good targets, and then that lowers to 10 very good targets. And you slowly have to just do it as a stage gate process before you diamond drill. And it's a proven method, and it takes time. We've already spent the majority of the time. The exciting thing is the time for the diamond drilling, the ultimate truth machine, is happening now at 3 major targets, and likely there's already 3, 4 more ready for 2026. So to answer your question, lots of time, being systematic and patient. Adam, anything I missed?
No, just thanks, Julian, for bringing that up. If you believe in God, God only created 4 or 5 of these greenstone belts around the world. So you do have to be in the right place at the right time. These are not businesses that you can replicate. These are geological occurrences that happened millions of years ago. And if you happen to time it right, it's a truly powerful and a unique thing to have. So we do have a very unique situation. And for the question there about the analyst coverage, you will see some analyst coverage here. Haywood Securities and Ventum Securities will be initiating coverage this quarter. So we'll update the market as soon as we see that.
Well, this is very interesting news, as obviously this is going to really open you the gate to put your story out a lot further. All right, guys, time is up. Thank you very much for being with us today. It was a very nice first overview of your company. Now we'll be looking forward to the developing of the story. And I invite any attendees to go on your and be a member of your mail list, or write you if you have any other additional questions. One thing is sure, it looks very, very promising. So thank you very much, guys, for being with us today. And we'll be going now to the next presenter from Thunder Gold Corp. I already have Wes Hansen in. Thank you again, guys, of First Nordic Metals.
Thank you, guys.